So for me,
Mhm.
work ethic, positivity, and coachability have led to every trophy, every success metric, every accolade that includes breaking all-time Super Bowl revenue records.
If you're finding value in what you're watching, consider hitting the subscribe button and turning on the bell notification. Oh, and don't forget to drop a comment. I love hearing your thoughts and ideas. By the way, we have got a ton of other videos waiting for you. And if you are ready to level up your mindset, come hang out with us in our private Facebook group called Mindset for Business Success. Today, we have with us Paul Epstein. Paul is an expert in leadership and organizational culture for about 15 years now. He has experience as a professional sports executive for multiple NFL and NBA teams, a global sports agency, and the NFL League office leading and coaching business teams. Most recently, the San Francisco 49ers. Welcome to our show, Paul.
Thanks so much, Shahid. Fired up to be here.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, Paul, can we just start off understanding how you got your feet into Major League Sports?
Yeah, well, let's call it beginner's luck. But look, I'm a massive fan of the philosopher Seneca's quote that luck is when preparation meets opportunity. So I'm about to share a quick fun backstory of the opportunity, but know that I was damn prepared. And I feel like that's the entrepreneurial spirit and fire that we all have to have. And so I was a year and a half out of school, and this is at a time where sports management was not a big major. Today it is. This is decades ago. I did not know that you could work in sports. I was just like most people in the world. I was a sports fan. And I separated the two. I never thought I could make a living out of it. So here I am working for a Fortune 10 organization, outside territory sales manager. And then what happened was I'm driving a sporty Dodge Caravan from retail account to wholesale account, just managing my territory. And in between, I had it on ESPN radio this fateful day. Mel Kiper, who's an NFL draft guru, and he's a very excitable guy, high energy, high octane. Like, this is how he talks. So he comes on, first commercial. Have you ever wanted to work in sports? Have you ever dreamed of working for your favorite NFL, NBA, MLB? And I'm speeding down the highway. Yes, yes, yes. And then the call to action was call 1-800-SMWW now. I called Sports Management Worldwide, and the rest is history. 8-week program, impressive professors. Where do you want to be, Paul? I said LA. They said, great. We know folks over at the Staples Center, and I'm a proud born and raised Angelino. This is the Kobe and Shaq era of the Lakers. So I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm gonna be working for the Lake Show. And they made the email introduction to the other team. So I found myself working for the redheaded stepchild of the building known as the LA Clippers. ESPN said, you're the worst brand in sports. And then my second week on the job, the front cover of Sports Illustrated was worst franchise in sports history. And that was the backdrop, Shahid. The rest of the 15-year magic carpet ride was 3 NBA teams, a lot of walking through fire, a lot of working in negative and toxic environments. And so when I wrote my book, The Power of Playing Offense, it was mastering the skill that no matter how defensive an environment gets, hurdles, obstacles, setbacks, challenge, adversity, all the things that get in between us and winning, producing, and performing and showing up at our best. I was in purely defensive environments, and I realized that every day is a choice to choose to play offense. And that's it. And now I share this message from a stage, a podcast, and in books and all that. But that is the backstory of how I got involved. So an infomercial changed my life.
So it sounds like you stole the energy from the announcer as well in your career.
Hey, I'm a little low on caffeine today, man. You know, 2 young kids, and I woke up at 3 a.m. today. So this is just me on a low energy day.
Well, it's good to have you with this energy. It's awesome. So, you know, from the research I did, I noticed that you're really, really good in sales. So can you share or help guide people in the audience that may need this type of help? What actions or strategies can they get themselves involved with or be aware of when they're starting a meeting or doing a sales pitch if they can start it off on the right foot and kind of capture their attention in the quickest way possible, but having the calmness to do it.
Absolutely. So I'll share a story from when I was back in the LA Clippers and I got the promotion from sales executive to sales manager. And here is something that is universally relevant and applicable. You're going to hear a lot of cliches or mantras that are very common and they feel like a postcard. One of the ones that I always heard as a young buck in sales was control the controllables. And I heard that and it made sense and I agreed with it. But now I realize that those words will literally make or break careers. And so here's the backstory. I was doing a lot of group interviews and we're hiring for an entry-level sales role at the Clippers. It's a $7 an hour job. I mean, like, it was tough finding. And I remember that as a part of those interviews, I would talk about a constitution. And people would say, what do you mean a constitution? I say, if you're offered the position, day one of the job, I'm going to ask you to sign the constitution. And this is a 6 to 9 month training and development program. And at the end of 6 to 9 months, mark my words, I will take care of you for the rest of your life if you do the 3 things that are inside of the Constitution. And I shared the 3 things. I said work ethic, positivity, and coachability. So my version of control the controllables was work ethic, positivity, and coachability. And people looked at me like, all right, that's cool. That's inspiring. Thanks, boss. But what about the revenue? What about the metrics? What about the goals? And I said, don't worry about that stuff. They said, what do you mean don't worry about that stuff? I said, if I offer you the job, it's because I believe that you have the skill to do it. I'm not going to offer you the job if I don't think you can sell. But I can always coach and teach and train the skill. I cannot coach your will.
Yeah.
And then when I landed the plane, I really thought about the 3 elements of the Constitution: work ethic, positivity, and coachability. I don't have a wand to make you work harder. I don't have a wand to keep you positive in what I know is going to be a negative environment. And I don't have a wand to get you obsessed with getting 1% better every day. That was the controllable spirit of work ethic, positivity, and coachability. And here's what I told them: I cannot coach care. I do not have a wand to make you care. And literally, Shid, I don't care if it's a sales executive, a sales manager, or my most recent role, CRO, Chief Revenue Officer for the 49ers. I don't care at any of those levels. It is about having standards that you live by and lead by, and you don't take days off. So for me, work ethic, positivity, and coachability have led to every trophy, every success metric, every accolade that includes breaking all-time Super Bowl revenue records. It fundamentally came down to the blocking and tackling of work ethic, positivity, and coachability. And I learned that by having a constitution when I was in my mid-20s as a first-time manager.
But Paul, we mentioned the wand, but instead of the wand, they could create that mindset through a mindset transformation. It is possible for them to create that belief system where they do have the proper mindset to create that will.
Yes, I agree with that, with a caveat. I think mindset work, and look, I do it all the time. I coach it, I speak about it, I consume it. I am still a student. I don't claim to have all the answers with mindset. I think we're going to evolve until the day we die, right? Like, we never have all the answers.
It's
Otherwise,
infinite.
we've already, it's infinite. Well said.
Yeah.
But here's the caveat. I don't care if it's a mindset shift. I don't care if it's a new tool or a tactic or some form of you getting better or doing something different. If you don't anchor it to something deep down inside of you, like your core values or some element of your character or a standard that you say non-negotiable, this is who I am and this is how I want to live. When I have learned things that made perfect sense and worked for millions of people, and I didn't anchor it to something inside of me, it was ineffective. It was just like any New Year's resolution. Didn't even make Feb 1. But when things have been transformational in my life, like I had a retreat when I was at the 49ers that changed my life. Find your why, find your values. But those aren't the distant North Stars that changed my life. I got obsessed with how do I apply those things on a Monday morning? Because if my values don't tie to my decisions, if my values don't tie to my actions, they're just going to be words on the wall and they're going to feel like a distant North Star. And so that's what I mean. Yes, you're correct in saying mindset matters. And I believe mindset is the most important muscle that we can flex and grow every single day. But you have to tie it to something that is intrinsic and meaningful and that matters. Otherwise, it probably will fade.
Yeah, which is also part of the mindset. When you're doing that
100%.
mindset transformation,
100%.
when you dig deep within, you have all the answers. The answers are not out there, they're within. And when you spend time within, you discover your purpose. You discover your beautiful qualities that are just dormant and innate, but they all come alive, like some kind of an energy takes over.
Yeah, well said.
Yeah. Yeah. So can you share how to build a rapport? Because a lot of us, sometimes we are so eager when we go into those situations that we want to have a rapport so bad because we know if they like us, things will be just so much more easier. Can you share any techniques or any approaches?
100%. And this was a learning that I had after a rock bottom moment. So here's how I would describe it. In my leadership journey, where to your point, rapport was the name of the game, like relationships are the currency of life. And I knew that, but I also think that when we're too strategic or too intentional, sometimes it comes across as manipulative. Like, what's my agenda? What's my objective? Why do I want to build rapport with this
energy.
person? 100% energy. So here's how I would describe the 4 quarters of my leadership journey. So you know the saying, Shahid, of air quotes, play the game, right? Like you start working and you get the advice from somebody, oh, you got to play the game. You got to play the game. But there's a point in your career where even if you're told that, you don't even know what it means. And it's kind of blissful ignorance, to be honest. It's almost like right now I have 2 young kids and I almost think like I'm happy that they don't know what everything means because there's a lot of stuff out there that's just a little bit toxic and it's pollution and it's negative. And it's like, you know what? Stay innocent, stay pure, and let's go through this journey. And so that kind of describes my leadership journey as well, where I didn't realize that there was a game to be played. So when I was a manager, I authentically cared about the whole person, even to the point where it might not have been what's always best for the company or best for the organization, but this is what's best for the person. What I realized is, and I was taught this as a young sales guy, everybody has the same favorite radio station, WIIFM, which is What's in It for Me. And it's not selfish, but people do get out of bed asking, how is this going to help me? How is this going to serve me? How is this going to benefit me? That's not selfish. That's just the way we're wired, because in a world that's so busy and there's competing priorities and time is so finite and scarce, I don't have time to do a million things. So I want to do the needle moving things that are genuinely going to benefit me the most, not selfishly, but because I want to become the best version of myself. So when I realized that if I care about the whole person and I am authentically finding out their personal motivations, their professional motivations, I am telling them what they need to hear, not what they want to hear, but we had a foundational relationship. So now they knew that the feedback was coming from a good place. And that was the ticket. Now, fast forward, that's the first quarter of my leadership journey. And guess what? The revenue metrics and everything else followed. We were human-centered, purpose-centered, impact-driven, mission-driven, loved each other. They said, Paul, don't get so close with your coworkers. I said, BS. I said, fundamentally not. I'm going to be the guy that is out with them and in the trenches, and there's nothing they do that I don't do, and there's no environment that they're going to put themselves in that I don't want to be with them. Like, I was truly a man of the people, and I was coaching the way that I authentically knew how. Now, the quick version of the second and third quarters of my leadership journey are, I started to taste my own success. The title, the money, the responsibilities, LinkedIn profile looks sexier and sexier. So one NBA team leads to a bigger role in leadership with another NBA team, NFL league office, eventually the 49ers. And then there was a performance review that shook me. It eventually leads to my rock bottom moment, because we were hitting all the metrics, a performance review that I heard, attaboy Paulie, keep it up. But something inside of me felt tension. Like I didn't know, like, why am I feeling incomplete, but yet the world is saying bravo? Something is off. So before I left the team president's office, after he delivered a positive review, it prompted me to turn around and I said, can you just give me one thing? One thing, I just want to get better. And he said, absolutely, buddy, have a seat. He said, Paul, I'm going to give you a quote from Roosevelt, and this is exactly where you need to get better. People don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. And he kept talking, Shid, but I don't remember a word after. I went numb because what I basically heard was, Paul, your team doesn't think you care about them. And that, when a core value of authenticity, which I now knew following that life-changing retreat, I literally had self-talk in that moment that said, you sold out. You sold out to achieve corporate goals. You sold out to grow your own career. And your heart cares about your team, but your actions aren't showing it. And thank God that he called me out and I took it. And I permanently rededicated myself to be like the first quarter, Paul. So the fourth quarter and the first quarter are where relationships and rapport were thriving. They were authentic. They were real. It was prioritizing the individual over the corporation. And that's hard to do, especially when you're an employee. As an entrepreneur, it's a little bit easier because it's all risk reward and there's less security and safety. But when you're getting a biweekly paycheck and you need to sometimes do things that are best for the individual, not best for the organization, what I have realized is that short term, it sounds like there's friction there. But long term, the people that stick with you in that fight will eventually serve the organization in multitudes, different and better and more caring, because now they give a damn about the work versus just doing it for the paycheck. So it's purpose over paycheck, but you only get that when you short game prioritize individuals and prove to them that I'm going to take care of you regardless of what's best for the bigger picture. That, and it's a very difficult process, but that is the process.
Wonderful answer. It was thought-provoking. And you know that when we are with fellow human beings, we are basically vibrational readers. We emit these energy and we read the type of feeling someone is emitting, especially in a sales call. We can pick up if someone is just trying to make a sale or if someone actually is feeling me, if they have the care in their heart. A lot of people in sales take advantage of that, but subconscious to subconscious, you're speaking a lot without saying much.
Yep. Couldn't agree more.
So can you speak about objections? And let's be serious here. You know, we're selling all the time. There's not a time we're not selling, even if we're not in business or in sales. But what advice can you give entrepreneurs how they can effectively handle objections? Because there's standard objections, a list of them, but when they come about or before they come about, where they could implement something or say something or create a conversation around it that could help them eliminate some of the objections or make them easier for them to handle.
Great question. And objections are so nuanced to the job, the industry, but I want to tackle this from a very universal perspective. I want to share a response that's universal. And here would be my universal insight about objections. And look, when you work in sales, or if you're an entrepreneur, we can call it an objection, you can call it rejection, and you can't have one without the other. And I've experienced millions of both. And frankly, I believe that walking through those fires is what's molded me. It made me who I am today. But here's how I would advise dealing with objections. And it's actually very similar to what I said about how you build rapport. The challenge most sales folks have is they feel like they need to win the conversation. So it's me versus you. You tell me it's too expensive. I convince you that it's not. You try to tell me that those bells and whistles don't matter to you, and I try to persuade you that they do.
Game of persuasion.
It's a game of persuasion and influence, and again, winning. This is also the downfall of negotiators. Good negotiators genuinely find win-wins. Bad negotiators feel like they need to win the conversation, and it becomes a one-sided outcome. And that's not a healthy long game approach. To use a metaphor, that's an approach that will win you a battle, and you will never win a war. Never.
That's an ego battle, right?
It's an ego battle, and it's just, you're not going to, if relationships and rapport are the currency of life, you will have none of those in abundance or high quality if all you try to do is win the conversation. Yeah. Show me a marriage that one of the two people just wants to win at the dinner table. I will show you they will fall in the wrong 50% of California statistics on divorce, okay? So needless to say, going back to objections, I feel like first of all, the number one trait, just like when you want to deliver hard feedback, it's impossible to be effective at it if you don't have a foundational relationship. So sometimes there's work that needs to be done before the work is done, if that makes sense. The work in feedback is build a relationship. Step 1. Step 2 is deliver the hard feedback, because now they know it comes from a good place. In rejection, if the second step is getting an outcome that is a win-win, then I think the first step is find a product or service that you authentically believe in so much that you genuinely in your heart and in your soul know that this will benefit the other person. Because I have sold 2 categories of things that I didn't believe in and things that I would fall on the sword for.
Big difference.
Massive. So in the first one, it was tactical. Here's how you overcome objections and 5 steps. And dude, I was just trying to win the conversation. But when I fundamentally believed in it, I wasn't afraid of the no, because I would be able to walk away and say, you know what? I respect where you're coming from. You're not ready. And if these are your objections and this is how you feel, my authentic response to that would be, here's how I think it would benefit your family. Here's how I think this software would fundamentally change your operations. Whatever it is, I would communicate that. And if they said, thanks, but no thanks, I would have peace in saying they're not ready or they're not the perfect client, because I believe in it. Versus when I didn't believe in it, I would go back 10 times, 20 times, 30 times. You're wrong. I'm right. You're wrong. I'm right. Here's how you should think about it. And again, maybe I won a lot of battles, but I never won the war.
It's so true. They can sense that both sides. They could 100%. Sense, the first option, they could sense neediness. And neediness doesn't make a sale. If a sales professional is admitting neediness.
Neediness, yes. And a reframe. You always hear in sales or entrepreneurship, hunger. Hunger wins, hunger wins, hunger wins. And I agree with that. I agree that hunger is a good quality. Now, obviously, you should balance it with humility. Okay, hunger, humility. But here's where I was going with it. Be hungry, not thirsty. I'll repeat that. Be hungry, not thirsty. Hunger is your internal drive and fortitude to keep going and to persevere and to be resilient and to battle through rejection. Like, hunger is your fuel and oxygen. But thirsty is when you want it so bad that you sound desperate and it just feels so needy. Nobody wants to be around thirsty people. Everybody, when humble, wants to be around hungry people.
Good point. From my side about hunger, I feel that there's a gray line with hunger, because hunger also engages the ego, meaning the hunger entices you to maybe say more than you should be saying. I feel like you're still admitting neediness with hunger. I find it more successful when you have the confidence that you already feel like you're somewhere good and you mean well for the other person that's in front of you. And it's going to help him change his life because you believe in the product. You admit that to the prospect from a place of super confidence where you just know it's going to help them. Everything is vibrations, I was mentioning. That's where the hunger will emit eagerness as well. The other person sees it. Okay, this guy really needs to make this sale. I found the calmness, it amplifies the relationship. I don't know if I'm making sense.
No, it does. And you bring up one of the things that I talk, frankly, the number one thing that I talk about from stage is confidence. And I have a quiz on my website about it. I'm about to launch a masterclass on it. Like I fundamentally believe that the best people in the world show up with supreme confidence. Now there's a caveat. It has to be confidence balanced by humility. Too much confidence without humility, arrogant. Too much humility without confidence, lack of self-worth, lack of self-belief. You're going to carry that person through life. It needs to be an integration, a harmony, and a harnessed power of the intersection where confidence meets humility. Those are people that win long game.
Oh, man, Paul, so amazing talking to you, my friend. This is awesome. So one question I want to ask you about virtual settings becoming quite common. How can entrepreneurs adapt to effectively engaging with the prospect in that type of setting? When you're in person, there's a different energy about it.
Yeah, it's a connection.
Yeah. So, and then how can they create that connection in a virtual setting?
Yeah, here's an important thing to think about. I believe you call it vibration and frequency. That's your language. I call it a weather system. And here's what I mean by this. Whether we're stepping into a room or we're hopping into a Zoom meeting, we could either warm it up or we could cool it off. The question is, are we aware of our own temperature? Because when we are and we intentionally choose warmth, it attracts warmth. It invites warmth. We have warmer relationships. We have a warmer life. So I would say, while yes, there are some drawbacks to virtual versus in person, control the controllable. Every single virtual setting you walk into, intentionally warm up the room. Be the thermostat that is warm and warm and warm and warm. And at the end of the day, you maximize the potential of what the platform will allow. When I do a virtual keynote, is it the same as an in-person keynote? No. But if 100% potential is the ceiling for both, then I'm going to max out both. I don't care if one has a lower ceiling. I'm going to hit the ceiling because it's a ceiling of elite warmth.
I agree. We're using different terminologies, but we're
same spirit.
Same spirit. Love it. Oh man, Paul, it was awesome talking to you. We usually do 20 to 30-minute episodes. This was great chatting with you. And I'm actually pretty confident that we added good value out there for people that may be listening or watching, because some of the points that we discussed and you shared are very much needed in entrepreneurship. So we spark something that helps someone to level up in their game. So I appreciate your time to come on our show, my friend, and definitely keep in touch.
Oh, love the time. And yeah, we'll continue to stay in each other's corners, man. Love your community, love the mission. And again, for everybody out there, winmonday.win. That's how we can stay connected in the future.
Filling in. Here.